Hi everybody, and welcome to How to Start Your Embroidery Business, or How to Grow Your Embroidery Business with a Vinyl Cutter. I'm Courtney Kubitza, and today we're going to be talking all about ways that you can grow your business. And if you own an embroidery business, you know that the best way to grow or expand your business is going to be to add more services, more products, or offer more to your customers. And when you run an embroidery business, there are a few challenges that you'll likely run into. One is going to be the logos that you can create. Maybe there's some logos you run into, maybe some designs your customers want that just aren't optimal for vinyl cutting. Maybe the graphic's a little too large, maybe they want a special effect that you're not able to do with your embroidery system. And today we're going to talk about how making an investment in something like vinyl cutter technology can really help you grow and expand and really help you just spread the limits of what you can do in your embroidery business. And there's a lot of opportunity with that very small investment. In fact, I work with a lot of embroiderers that also use heat printing, and they actually cite that the heat press and the vinyl cutter technology combination together is one of the most profitable items in their shop. And so this will hopefully allow you to find some new ways to profit as you expand into vinyl cutter technology, find new ways to really be unique in your pricing structure, and really offer more products to your customers. And so I'm really excited to dive into this class. So to get started, what I want to do first is I want to talk about, you're going to learn today a lot about what you're going to gain when you add a vinyl cutter to your embroidery business. So you're going to learn about the effects, you're going to learn about the items you can print, you're going to learn all about how it helps you really expand what you can offer as a service to your customer base. But I think it really starts with understanding what you need to look for if you want to invest in a vinyl cutter machine. And so I'm going to head over to the vinyl cutter that I have here, which is the Graphtec CE6000, so we can take a little deeper look into the actual machine. And so when you look to invest in vinyl cutter technology, one thing to consider is the size of the machine. So there's a variety of sizes of machines available. There's 12-inch, there's 15-inch, there's 24-inch, there's upwards of 30 and beyond. When I recommend purchasing a vinyl cutter, I really recommend the 24-inch, and there's a few reasons why. When you start to expand your business, you're going to want to look at cutting a variety of materials and cutting them very efficiently. I assume you're very successful in your embroidery business, and so this area will probably also take off in the way that your embroidery has. And so you want to be set up for being able to run jobs efficiently. This machine is a 24-inch vinyl cutter, so it allows you to cut 15-inch and 20-inch rolls. So vinyl is actually going to come in two size rolls, so this will allow you to cut both very efficiently on a roll without having to actually sheet material down to fit in a smaller width machine. And so that's one of the big benefits of having the 24-inch vinyl cutter. Once you have your machine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually load in a job here, or load in my material to begin to send it to cut. One other thing to look at when you're starting to purchase a vinyl cutter, you're looking to invest in vinyl cutter technology, is the ease of use. And so the Graphtec CE6000 is very easy to use. So I'm going to just load my material in here, and we'll start to walk through some of the steps of sending a job to cut and kind of how vinyl cutter technology really works. I actually have a design that's on here, so I'm just going to trim that off prior to sending my job here. Cut that earlier to make sure everything would cut efficiently for the class. All right, so I'm going to load this material back in here. You'll notice on the bottom of the machine, underneath where my material is going to feed through, that you're seeing two pinch rollers. So these pinch rollers are actually going to be set up on the outside of your material, and they are there to hold everything in place. You'll also notice some lines here on the front of my vinyl cutter. I'm using those lines there to simply line up my material so I know it's going to track effectively. One of the things that I love about the Graphtec cutter is you're going to see when I send a job to cut, it's going to be completely unassisted. If I make sure that I have straight tracking as I'm setting up my roll and my material, then I'm going to be able to track up to 17 feet with this Graphtec cutter, so I can send my job to cut and not have to worry about assisting it and sending more jobs after one is cut. So I'm going to load this in here. I'm just telling the machine that I have a roll of material, so it's going to read the width between those two pinch rollers that I slid on the outside of the edge of the roll there. That's going to set it in place. I'm also going to set my force, and so this machine is incredibly easy to set your force on. I already have it set for fashion film, so I'm going to run a small test cut to make sure everything is cutting effectively. So this is just going to cut a square with a triangle on the inside. Let me grab my weeder here so I can weed away that little test there. And with the Graphtec, I can see I'm not getting enough force here. Actually has a little bit of a give on that corner there, so I'm just going to increase my force by a little bit on the machine here. That way I can make sure it's going to cut effectively. Once I have that changed, I can then go ahead and run another test on my machine. So it's going to cut another square with a triangle. I can peel those apart. Now I'm seeing that these two are separating very nicely, so they're not grabbing at all, so I know I'm going to get a good cut when I send my job. It's always important to run a test cut. Material that you cut is going to cut at a separate force, and so those guidelines are always given to you by the manufacturer that you purchase your heat transfer vinyl from. Once I have my test cut complete, my force is set, I can go ahead and send my job to cut. So I'm just going to go ahead and set my origin here on my machine. When we look at ease of use, really being able to have multiple settings for your materials is really important, and so the GraphTech allows you to have that feature as well. As I send this job to cut from my computer here, and you can watch it cut, we'll talk a little bit about some of the other features of the GraphTech. So just feeding out some of the excess back here, that'll help to make sure I've got enough material that'll feed through the machine effectively. So the GraphTech also features what I would call a servo motor rather than a stepper motor, and this is going to be really important later in the class when we talk about getting into efficiently cutting things like twill for applique in your embroidery business and doing that in-house. And so the servo motor allows me to cut things like twill, rhinestone template materials, and different products very fast and efficiently. It also has a higher force, so I can be able to get more out of those materials. Some other things to consider with this specific vinyl cutter is just in the speed that it cuts with. It cuts very quickly. You're noticing that as it moves and glides across. If you've ever seen vinyl cutters, or you have one that maybe is a bit smaller like a Silhouette Cameo or a Cricut, those run on step motors, so they don't have as fast of a speed. So if you're looking to do something efficiently and very quickly, that's where I go ahead and I recommend using a vinyl cutter like the GraphTech CE6000. Like I said, it's a professional grade cutter. It's setting you up for being able to really grow and expand your business with heat transfer vinyl and also with applique and different twill materials that you can cut on this machine. One of the other things I really love about it is it has actually an expand feature that we turn on to our machine. So I can actually cut from the edge of my pinch roller all the way to the other edge of my pinch roller, rather from being from the inside to the inside like a lot of other vinyl cutters tend to run. The main difference in that is about an inch of material and you're cutting with, because right now if I'm cutting from inside to inside, I'm losing about a half an inch on each side, and so I'm being able to gain that back when I turn that feature on. And there's a lot of vinyl cutters like this on the market. The GraphTech CE6000 is really just one of the ones that I like the best. Roland is also a very strong professional model, has a lot of those same features as far as the speed, great tracking, being able to cut different materials effectively with that servo motor. So those are two brands that I would definitely consider if you're looking into a vinyl cutter, but 24 inches is really the minimum where I would start if you're really looking to grow and expand your shop. Okay, so now that this has been cut, I'm going to go ahead and expand this out a little bit. As you saw in the beginning of the demo, I have a little track here that allows me to easily take a knife and cut straight lines across my material. That's really important, so when you load the roll in next time, you don't have jagged cuts that make you lose material in your weeding. So I'm going to head over and weed this here on the heat press so you can get a good look at kind of how this works. So once your designs have been cut, all of that was unassisted. The next step is going to be to weed away the excess material in my design, and so I'm completely just splitting the layers between my material and the graphic. And so the product I'm weeding right now that we'll be pressing first is actually CAD Cut Fashion Film. And so fashion film has an incredibly sticky backing. Big benefit of that is you're weeding some of these designs, as you're seeing this clip art image is actually a little bit more detailed, is that I can peel up a corner, and if it accidentally didn't cut accurately and peel it up, I could press it back down and I wouldn't ruin my artwork at all. So that's definitely one of the big benefits. As I'm weeding away my design there, you're noticing this artwork is actually from Great Dane Graphics. So it's perfect for cutting designs for heat transfer vinyl because it's got a lot of pull areas, not a whole lot of picking. Just going in and cleaning up any of the cavities on my designs If you currently have a vinyl cutter and you do a lot of weeding, I'd highly recommend purchasing a tool like I have here with this Easy Weeding tool. The Easy Weeder will allow you to, as you can see, pick up multiple areas at once. So I was able to really pick up almost all of those cavities from my artwork, so it made it faster and easier for weeding very quickly. You also notice my design has a border around it. Especially if I'm cutting on a 20-inch roll, I want to be able to put these, what they call weed borders, around them with my artwork, because it's going to allow me to save any excess material on the side here, any scraps. And I can always cut those later on the vinyl cutter if I have a job that'll fit that piece. Remove that little test cut there that didn't work earlier. And I've got my completely weeded design. So now that I have that weeded, I'm going to go ahead and press this down to my t-shirt. And so the first product we're going to look at is actually just a large design for a 100% cotton t-shirt. And so as we know, a lot of people, especially when they look at embroidery, the other part of the equation is they want screen print finishes. But screen printing is not always effective for the quantity that you're printing, or even just in your capabilities if you don't have a ability to do screen printing. But of course, with a heat press, you could easily do that with transfers. So CAD cut fashion film gives you that ability because it still gives you that nice matte finish that looks a lot like screen printing. It's still going to have a really soft hand to it, and that all is going to allow me to give my customer that soft feel, that large graphic on this very lightweight soft cotton t-shirt without having to turn away that job. CAD cut fashion film applies for 15 seconds at 320 degrees. And so here, just in the last 5 minutes of this class, you've been able to see me be able to cut, weed, and heat apply all of these graphics. So it's very fast and easy to do. Of course, I'm demoing this and talking to you as I do it, but you're looking at about 3 minutes per shirt for all of these steps involved between the weeding and the heat application. Of course, the cutting is going to be completely unassisted in that process. And so we're able to get a nice print there on that t-shirt. And so this gives me the ability to offer low quantities, custom t-shirts with large graphics like this, even in a screen print finish. Now, of course, if you own the heat press and you're starting to do larger quantities, I do recommend looking at screen printed transfers as well, because just another avenue that you can add to your business for jobs like this. This one would be a great example for a school. So it looks like I had a few questions coming in on Facebook. I see Joy asking what type of heat transfer vinyl am I using. This is CAD cut fashion film, so great for t-shirts, lightweight, matte finish, kind of my go-to for everyday cotton type items. So sweatshirts, t-shirts, bags, all of that good stuff. All right, looks like I got all of the questions so far. Thanks, Will. He said, looks like I said fashion film, so he's on it, taking notes, I see. So the other thing I want to look at is the ability to expand in what you offer as far as finishes go. Really being able to step outside of your niche and step outside of your comfort zone to being able to say, I now offer glitters, I now offer foils, I can now do reflective finishes. And this vinyl cutter allows you to do all of that, because all I need to do now is simply purchase a roll with that special effect, and I have the ability to offer those finishes to my customers. So I'm going to load on what would be a nice fan jersey. Now this is another one of those fabrics that could be difficult to print if I was doing a application on a embroidery machine. The one reason is this polyester mesh is incredibly lightweight, and so we know when we move to performance fabrics and polyester items that they get to be a little bit more difficult to embroider without some technical know-how. There's also a lot of mesh involved, so if I wanted to actually print on the mesh, I wouldn't be able to do that with the embroidery machine as well. So this gives me the ability to not only start offering these trendy, fashionable garments. This one is from Pennant Sportswear. It's kind of a cool fan jersey tank top that's really popular right now for just the fan market and spirit wear in general. And that's really where glitter thrives. We'll look a little bit later in some places that glitter thrives and allows you to really expand your embroidery business, like monogramming. But the effects are really popular for ladies apparel of any kind. Even if you just decorate for children's apparel or ladies garments, all of those really are popular with the glitter. Now glitter, same thing, cut, weeded prior to the class, and it's just going to apply for 10 to 15 seconds at 300 degrees. And so it's even a low temperature, which gives me the ability to start printing some of these more moisture wicking performance fabrics. Peel back the carrier there. And we have a completed design. And so glitter and different effects like this are now possible to expand to with the vinyl cutter. It gives you a great way to start adding new revenue if you're not currently selling things like spiritware in your business. So a great one there. This has about 40 colors in the new glitter product. I think we may have actually hit over 40 colors. We just added 6 more. So a lot of opportunity for selling to schools, and like I mentioned, with personalizing for children's apparel and beyond. Looks like I'm getting a couple more questions on Facebook. I know I have a few on our GoToWebinar as well. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them out during the broadcast and we'll answer them here. Colin asks, what's the price of the CE6000? Colin, the price varies. It usually runs about $17.95, but you can check out the pricing and purchase always on Stahls.com for the GraphTech package. Mark asked, how do I measure the placement of my design? And so I'm really eyeballing it here during this live class, but there's a lot of unique ways to do that with just the way you load the garment on and measuring down with either a ruler, a laser alignment system, or I really use my fingers kind of as a guide. So I know 4 fingers for me is about 3 inches for the placement there. Colin's asking if he gets 50% off. Absolutely, Colin. I would love to give you that, but I'm just not able to for special Stahls TV members here. Joe, do I have any questions coming in on GoToWebinar as well?
Yes, Jennifer would like to know, with the cutter, do you need any kind of special software with that?
So the vinyl cutter, the GraphTech CE6000 comes with its own cut software, which allows you to cut from GraphTech Studio. It's a great studio for taking vector artwork, bringing it in, and also allows you to kind of create some artwork within the studio, like stars or hearts or squares or even text. But the limitation is it doesn't allow you to do a lot of design. So what you really need is design software. Now you can get this on CorelDRAW, Adobe Illustrator, or you could even purchase something like CADWorks, or get free access to something like CADWorks Live. So every time you buy a vinyl cutter, or if you're just a Stahls customer who's purchased heat transfer vinyl or transfers with us, you get access to what's called CADWorksLive.com. I'll give you a snippet here later when we talk about cutting poly twill a little bit in that process, but it's a complete design tool. So really, you don't need to purchase anything with a vinyl cutter. Between CADWorks Live, the software that comes with the cutter, you're going to be set up ready to create vector artwork that's cuttable that you can send out to your customers. So a great tool there.
Colette would like to know, can you cut twill and rhinestone material with a Roland GX24?
Yes, so the Roland GX24 as well as the GS24 will both allow you to cut twill and rhinestone template material. They have a servo motor. They're very powerful machines, just like the GraphTech, so great options as well.
And then the final question is, if you're doing a job that's in the area of 50 shirts, is it worth the work to do the vinyl, or would you be better off doing something like a screen printed transfer?
The screen printed transfers, really once I hit 50 pieces, where I would at least price it out. On transferexpress.com, they have their pricing grid, and I would always reference that when you hit that 50 piece mark and look at what your cost to produce is going to be with a transfer. If that transfer is going to cost me, say, $1.40 to get 50 of those printed with a single color design, and it's going to cost me, say, $1.45 in material for fashion film as well as labor and overhead for me to cut and weed them myself, then I may consider just going to the screen printed transfer, because that helps save me the labor, especially if I'm a smaller shop. So really just looking at what's your breaking point for each job, and it's easy to reference that using that pricing grid that they have available. All right, great. So it looks like I have all the questions covered. I see a question coming in on Facebook about how much is the heat press. The Hotronix Fusion runs $2,100. So that's the pricing on that machine there. Feel free to send them, keep sending questions in as you guys have them, and we complete the rest of the demo here. So we looked a little bit about glitter. Another big seller for us is actually the ability to add foil effects. And so this is just another really great niche, and I will talk a little bit about it later as we talk about marketing, but I think it's really important as you look at how you want to expand your embroidery business to decide what markets you want to expand to. Glitter and foil are definitely some of those areas where you can really get creative and really expand your market into some of the more fashionable markets. So here I'm just loading in a men's raglan shirt. This is actually a tri-blend, and so some of these very thin, lightweight garments that have polyester, rayon, and cotton blends that may be a little bit thin or lightweight for your embroidery machine, especially if the graphic is large, are easily achievable with the vinyl cutter technology. Now the product I'm going to be applying to create a foil print is a two-step process. So this will be different from the glitter as well as the fashion film that we just printed. What I've actually cut out on the vinyl cutter, if you've seen this, is a CAD cut adhesive. So it's a clear adhesive product that's going to work very similar to a screen print adhesive, where I press this down and then I'll put a foil over top of it that will give me my print. So I'm going to load my design on here, making sure it's completely straight. Also, just for reference, is kind of how I would check the placement to see if I'm about 3 inches down from the top of that crew neck shirt. One thing to mention about placement and alignment is we do have a free ebook on stahlstv.com that you can download that actually will go through all of the different placement and alignment tips that you have for different apparel items. So you can download that under the resources section. So this adhesive is going to apply at a light pressure at 300 degrees for 5 seconds. You want to make sure to have a very light pressure. In fact, I probably could have even lightened the pressure up a little bit here on the Fusion for this application. That really light pressure is going to just tack that adhesive down on the shirt. You'll find if you're using a more of a medium type pressure that you're going to have trouble with getting a good adhesion because it's driving too much of that material down into the fabric. Next, I'm going to align my foil layer here. I have a nice new roll of navy, so I'm going to just trim off this excess piece here. Of course, I could peel it off as well, but that'll take me a little longer, so you wouldn't have to waste that little inch of material. So the foil actually comes in a roll like this, just like you would purchase it for screen printing foils. Just going to want to cut a sheet down to the size of your adhesive transfer, making sure it covers up all of that adhesive. There's a lot of techniques that you can really get creative with the foil product. This is the most basic type, where I'm just sticking a standard solid piece of foil over top of this, and I'm going to press it for 10 seconds. Now next Thursday here on Facebook Live, as well as through GoToWebinar, we're going to be having a class talking about foil and really a lot of next level print that's a mixed media, really getting crazy with it. Jenna's going to come up with a lot of great designs for that, so you can join us here at noon next Thursday for that class. This foil application was just still at 300 degrees for 10 seconds, and then it's a completely cold peel, and so it's incredibly important to make sure you're cooling all of these down, so that way you're making sure to get a good adhesion. It's going to stick well to the adhesive. If it's a little bit warm, you may also find that you're not getting a good adhesion. That's the other reason that I recommend using the cover sheet over this application, as well as any of them, really, but it helps to hold down that foil so when that heat press lifts up, it doesn't accidentally peel up a layer. If you're doing a lot of these, maybe 12, 24, 50 for a school, you could press them all and then come back and peel them before you box them. This looks like it's pretty good to go, cooled down well. So I'm going to peel this back. You'll notice the foil just stuck in the areas where the adhesive was. If I have extra areas in that design or on that piece of foil, I could use it later as well, but it gives me that really great metallic foil finish. So this is the navy color. There are, I think, 15 different colors that we offer here at Stahls. A lot of silvers, golds, a lot of really fashionable colors. So like I mentioned, it's a great way to offer new finishes, different effects to your customers with the vinyl cutter and really be able to expand that way. All right, so far we've looked at matte finishes, we've looked at glitter finishes, we've looked at foil finishes. I want to talk a little bit more about niches that we can sell to. One other niche is municipalities or industrial safety type organizations. The vinyl cutter allows you to offer more to this customer base. If you're offering embroidery to them already, you're probably likely doing left chest logos, you may be doing jackets, but you may not have the ability to offer them a reflective finish, which is really a great seller to some of these markets that need reflective, need any kind of ANSI certifications. Really anybody who's near a roadway has a need for reflective personalization on their items, and so this is, again, just another service you'll be able to add when you add the vinyl cutter to your embroidery business. I'm just going to go ahead and put the reflective on a 100% cotton t-shirt, but it works really well on polyester jackets, on nylon, on a variety of items that tend to be popular in that ANSI certified kind of industrial safety market. Preheat this to get some of the moisture and wrinkles out. I'm also going to dial back my pressure a little bit since I had a firm pressure from the foil in my last application. So this product I'm applying is called 3M Scotch Light Reflective. The 3M Reflective is going to give me the required ANSI certifications that are needed when you start to sell to markets like EMS, police, fire departments, and some of those road crews that are going to be working near highways. And so that's always required to have some of that information. Again, I'm going about 3 to 4 inches down on my t-shirt here in the center of the shirt. One other way that I make sure I'm at the center of the shirt is just pulling that shirt taut. You'll notice when I pull it on, and then I slowly pull back that collar. Cover it with a cover sheet just to protect my shirt, and press for the recommended application. For this product, it's going to be 10 to 20 seconds at 325 degrees. So always reference the website whenever you're printing, as well as the packing slip when you purchase your heat transfer vinyl rolls from Stahls will have the application. So you can easily reference these if you don't know them off the top of your head. Another hot peel carrier there. And another fast, easy application. So all of these types of graphics are able to easily be cut on the vinyl cutter there. So some great opportunity for these markets. So far we've looked at glitter, we've looked at foil. Reflective is another big opportunity for the industrial and safety market. And I've talked a little bit about some of the fabrics you've been able to print with the vinyl cutter and the heat press technology, but really when we look at embroidery, there's a little bit of a technical know-how that's required if you're looking to expand into some of these really, really trendy fabrics today. The performance wear that's moisture wicking, these tri-blends, these super thin, super soft, super lightweight garments. When you move to these types of garments, the decoration needs to be lightweight as well, or you may have trouble with buckling and the embroidery kind of pulling at some of these very thin, lightweight garments. And so that's another place where you can start to now say, yeah, I can offer this decoration, I just have another print technology with it. And so that's another thing that this allows you to do. I'm going to show you how to press a performance t-shirt using a low temperature application material. So this is another really great trendy piece from Sanmar. It's part of their Sport Tech line. We see a ton of these heathered garments, even if you're just walking through retail shops right now. It's really what's popular and what customers are really looking for. So I'm going to load this just like all of my other items onto my heat press platen. Different from a lot of these applications, this product actually allows me to go as low as 280 degrees. I have the heat press right now set at 300, so I can set all of my applications very quickly together for the demo purposes, but that 280 degree application is really going to be crucial for making sure that you're getting a good print and not scorching your performance fabric. So it really allows to set you up for success with performance wear printing. I'm going to line up my transfer here. And Premium Plus applies for 8 to 10 seconds at that 280 degree application. It can also go upwards of 300 degrees if you have your heat press set up at that application as well. It'll still be a durable print, but you want to go on the lower side if you're definitely printing performance wear. So I've preheated my garment, aligned my transfer, and now I'm going to press for the 8 to 10 seconds that are required. You will also notice all these cat carriers have a completely see-through carrier. That makes it really, really easy to print these performance wear fabrics because, in any fabric really, because you're able to see through the transfer for alignment. It's a warm peel, so I'm going to give it a few seconds to cool down. You guys saw how impatient I was for a second. I'm a big hot peel fan. So this product is a warm or cold peel, so you can shake it, kind of give it a few seconds to cool down, let that adhesive cool. Could also peel it cold if I wanted to set them all aside if I was printing a larger job and press them all when I go to box them up there. I find that it peels a little bit easier if you're warm peeling it. But again, another great way to add a contrast color and personalization to lightweight fabrics that you may not be able to currently do with your embroidery machine. Looks like I have a question coming in here. Can I layer Premium Plus with fashion film or glitter on top of it? So yes, I can layer Premium Plus with fashion film, or I can put glitter on top of Premium Plus. Both of those, all those products can be layered together. Mixed match, mixed media. You just want to make sure that if you're doing that, you're making sure you're hitting the high application for all of those. So fashion film and glitter flake both require, well, fashion film requires 15 seconds at 320 degrees. So if you're going to mix that with Premium Plus, you want to make sure you're using fashion film's application so that both are getting the full application that they need. That 20 degrees higher, that extra 5 seconds won't hurt the Premium Plus product. Same thing with glitter flake. You just want to make sure that everything's getting the application that's required. So use glitter flake's application to make sure you're getting 300 full degrees across both. Did I have other questions coming in on GoToWebinar, Joe?
Yes, Bo would like to know, how do you make sure that you're getting your shirt straight when you're placing it onto your heat press?
That's a great question. So when I go to make sure I'm loading a shirt on straight, I really just pull it taut with the bottom platen. So you'll notice when I pull shirts on, I always pull them completely flat to make it seem like the platen down here is actually wearing the shirt. And then I check the sides to make sure I've got the same amount of material on both sides. Always can use a ruler or use maybe your fingers as a gauge for that. And then I just pinch the shoulders and pull it just to that crew neck comes off of the platen there, so I know it's still holding it straight. And then I use that top of my platen here as my straight mark, so I know that I'm getting, so I know that I'm using this kind of as my guide for making sure the designs are straight and that everything's lined up. So some great tips there. Like I mentioned, that ebook that's available on stahlstv.com has more placement and alignment tips. So it's free. I recommend keeping that on hand, especially for the placement guide that's within it, because you could keep that by your heat press and it tells you where to put designs on different items. So it's a great reference tool for even your designers or for your heat press operators. All right, so it looks like I've got a lot of the applications here. I do want to talk a little bit more about a couple other applications that are a little bit more mixed, a little more unique. The next one is going to be putting a material called flock on a garment that you may traditionally embroider. And so one thing that's a really big benefit of adding vinyl cutter technology to your embroidery business is the ability for you to really be able to cost things effectively and be able to start to, I guess I want to say, not devalue your embroidery. And so I talk a lot with embroiderers that run into problems with having to keep cutting their price to compete with embroidery. And so I want to safeguard against that. And so when you have those customers that come in that are very budget conscious, I think it's important to offer the solutions that you have and the services you have in-house. And so you could recommend, this is my pricing and my option for embroidery on this shirt, or here is my other print option for personalization on this item. Both give you great finishes, but one's going to be a little bit lower price if you need a budget option, rather than continuing to cut your embroidery price to kind of get to where they want it to be for those budget conscious customers. Because in the end, it can be difficult to do that because of the way that you have just the time consumed in digitizing and creating the artwork and all of those processes as well. And so you want to make sure to keep your premium products at a premium. So I'm going to take just a button-up shirt here and load it onto my heat press platen. I'm also going to be printing on the pocket side of this shirt. So I'm going to be leveraging a heat printing pillow. Whenever I go to print different items on a heat press, there's a variety of interchangeable platens that really allow me to grow and expand. But when I go to print over a pocket or very close to a pocket, I recommend using a heat printing pillow like you see here. This way, when I load this in here, I'm not going to have to worry about any of these seams or pockets getting into the way of my application when I add that personalization there. Going to go ahead and dial back my pressure a little bit and just check it prior to the application. Whenever you add something that has depth like this, like a heat printing pillow, it's going to take away some of the pressure, or going to add some depth through here, so you want to make sure to check your pressure prior to printing, even if it was already set at the medium pressure that you needed for this application. So this product I'm applying is called CAD Cut Flock. The reason I've chosen to use this for my personalization above the pocket here is because it's going to give me a unique suede-like finish. And so if you're wanting to offer something to your customers that traditionally want embroidery but they don't want a matte screen print finish look, then this product is going to be more of a suede type look. So it's a little more raised, a little more 3D. Really kind of fits more of that premium look that you're getting with embroidery as far as a finish goes. Now, of course, all the products that we've decorated here with today are going to be 50 plus washes. So as far as durability and premium quality in that route go, you're still going to get that. The only one that's not 50 plus washes, I believe, is the foil, because sometimes we can see some cracking with the foil actually peeling up a little bit more closer to 30 or 40. So this is cooled down since flock is a cold peel. And I can peel that back. And so I really wish you guys could feel this here because it has just a really nice soft feel to it. But if you haven't seen CAD Cut Flock, you can always get samples on Stahls.com by requesting those, so you can kind of press it, get the feel for it, and be able to show it to your customers prior to purchasing. So some great opportunity there. But like I mentioned, this is a great chance for you to now take this product and compare the pricing to your customers and offer it alongside of your embroidery rather than devaluing it. And so it really comes to presenting that good, better, best solution where you're saying, these are my 3 print options for your job. Let me know which one fits your budget best. And it really comes down to understanding your customer, and that should be part of your conversation when you're getting started, knowing their budget, understanding where they need to be at prior to presenting maybe an option that they're not going to be able to achieve or not going to be able to afford that kind of requires some back and forth between the two of you. So setting yourself up for success that way is important as well. Looks like I have a couple of questions coming in. What's holding the rolls on your pegboard in the background? That is actually a mock-up that we have that is fake, and so unfortunately it's not holding the rolls. They actually are rounded on a piece of cardboard, but we do have a few tools, like there are some sign displays where you can get pegs to kind of load the rolls in there, and you can kind of create something there with a dowel rod or some form of system like that. I need a press for pencils. Do you have any products that may help me? I don't think we have any kind of products for that. Something like that I'm thinking it's probably going to be more of a pad printed type product for something like that. And it looks like I got all the other ones on Facebook. Joe, do I have anything else coming in on GoToWebinar?
There is a question concerning doing 2 colors in CAD-CUT. Like how do you work that part of it into the process?
Yeah, and so actually, that's a great point. I didn't include any multicolor here. Multicolor is easy with CAD-CUT as well. We have a ton of videos on StahlsTV.com that do a lot of mixed media and layering. Actually, if you look under the mixed media videos on the site, you'll be able to see a lot of those, as well as Project Press-It videos. But really, it comes down to just cutting one color in your vinyl cutter, weeding it, and then cutting the other color in your vinyl cutter. So it's a multi-step process. You do all the 3 steps that we looked at for that single color design: cut, weed, heat apply for each color, and then apply the colors separately unless they don't overlap. And then if that's the case, then you would have to, if they overlap directly, then you would want to do 2 steps. If they don't overlap directly, then you can press them all together. But a lot of great opportunity there for multicolor. Okay, perfect. All right, so one other application I do want to look at before we expand is really one of the biggest expansions that I see right now currently for embroiderers looking to add vinyl cutter technology is the ability to offer more inexpensive and more finishes for monogramming. I see a lot of embroiderers that a lot of gift shops actually that have offered embroidery personalization for monogramming for years, actually seeing more of a flip where customers are wanting more of the heat transfer vinyl. In fact, one that I was just with recently told me that 60% of their business has flipped from embroidery now to heat transfer vinyl. And so there's a big demand for a lot of these finishes, these matte finishes, these glitter finishes on different applications. And so this one I'm actually going to print a monogram on a faux or a vegan leather bag. This one was purchased from Wholesale Boutique, which is very popular in the market for gift options and for different tote bags and items like that can be embroidered or heat transfer vinyl printed. I do have a little pad that's actually right in my pocket here, so to help to avoid any seams, zippers, all of that here, I've got a little Print Perfect pad that I'm tucking in here. It's going to fit my graphic pretty much perfectly, so you'll notice I'm kind of filling the sides and making sure everything feels like it's on the pad. If not, I'm going to have to just print with a little bit of an application there. All right, looks like I'm about as close as I'm going to get it for that little Print Perfect pad there. It looks pretty good. Of course, I could cut that to a larger size and make it a little bit easier for aligning my graphic, but I like to use what I already have ready to go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack this for 5 seconds at the 300-degree application for CAD-CUT fashion film. Peel back my carrier there. And then to make sure it stays and is durable, but I want to protect the leather for a longer duration in application, I'm actually going to cover this with what's called a flexible application pad. So far I've got 300 degrees, a quick 5-second application tack there just to get the material on the item. And now I'm covering this whole thing up with this flexible application pad, which is really good for protecting heat-sensitive items. And I'm going to seal it for the full 15 seconds that is needed for this product. So that way the fashion film will still be durable. It's getting that full application, but I'm not really hammering with full 15 seconds down that faux leather. But one of the really cool things about this is that heat transfer vinyl will stick to so many different items, especially from a gifting monogramming perspective. Faux leather burlap, tote bags. I mean, there's so many opportunities for adding this personalization with glitter or with products like fashion film just by altering the application and using a few accessories. And I really like how fashion film, since it's so thin, picks up some of the actual texture of the faux leather, so it just makes a really cool finish and a really cool effect there. So great for adding some of that personalization easily to this item. And so that was a flexible application pad that I had used for that application specifically. So it helps with any heat sensitive items. So even if you're getting into any faux leather padfolios, shoes, all of that good stuff, because all of that can be personalized with the machine, the vinyl cutter, and the heat press. Looks like I have a couple other questions coming in. Matt said he's considered buying a Fusion heat press. He's been polling his customers on HTV. Many are saying they prefer screen printing over HTV because they believe it's more durable and longer lasting. What's my experience with this? And HTV for the longevity. Actually, heat transfer vinyl, although it doesn't, because for so many years heat transfers didn't have a strong durability, or maybe other products that were used didn't, and a lot of people see that screen print technology that's kind of used maybe in beach shops, and they get home from the beach and it's not real long washed. At heat transfer, a lot of people kind of have the perception that it's not real strong, but heat transfer vinyl actually has a longer lifespan than screen printing, because it doesn't allow for the cracking that usually happens with a screen print ink, especially if it's not a very good plastisol screen print. And so in my experience, I've actually seen heat transfer vinyl last longer. I know our products, we lab certify up to 50 washes. We just stop there. But I have shirts, in fact, my husband has a shirt that I can swear he wears 3 times a week. And we wash it constantly, and he's had it for about 7 years with heat transfer vinyl on it. And the shirt is actually starting to kind of tatter and worn, but the vinyl, which is CAD Cut Premium Plus, looks great. And we actually, right when we launched the product, made this t-shirt with it, and it's still long lasting. If anything, I think I would recommend, and I was going to talk a little bit about this in some of the marketing tips, but with heat transfer vinyl, I recommend positioning it as just a personalization option, or something with printing, so that you're not positioning it as heat transfer, because that is just the perception where people may be turned off by the fact that it's a heat transfer, and they think of it more as a decal, and kind of using that technology, I think, can devalue it when you're talking to your actual end user customer. All right, so I want to head over to my computer. I want to talk a little bit more about the last opportunity that I really see a chance for growth when you add a vinyl cutter to your business, and that's going to be with using Twill applique. And so I mentioned earlier that you purchase a vinyl cutter that has a servo motor like the Graphtec or the Roland, and it gives you the ability to now cut applique products like a pressure-sensitive Twill. Since we already demoed the vinyl cutter, I just have a really short video to quickly show you guys how that works. So I'm going to run that now so you can see. I'm going to load the PS Twill into the cutter and send it to cut. And so it's just going to go ahead and cut out my graphic that I created in my vector software. This pressure sensitive product, just like all the CAD Cut products, has a backing on it. So it's going to allow me to run it through that roll fed cutter very easily. Next, I'm just going to peel away I don't want, like I weeded the CAD Cut heat transfer vinyl. And that creates my letters. And so once I head over to the embroidery machine, all I really need to do is take those letters and line them up on my item. And so it's really incredibly easy to do when you're looking at creating your artwork and creating even sew files for this process. So I have CADWorks Live launched, and what I'm going to do is go into this design software. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, CADWorks Live is a complete design software that's online based. It's free to any Stahls customer. If you purchase your vinyl cutter with us, you would get access to this for free. And it allows you to create text, clip art, use templates, import and vectorize images. It's really a really expansive tool. You can find a ton of tutorial videos on stahlstv.com under the design software section under our training videos. But for this purposes, I just wanted to create 3 quick letters and combine them together that are going to be used for creating my Twill design. And so this artwork is all designed to be vector cut on a vinyl cutter. And so this is already a vector graphic. What I would do here is I would actually export this out using the vector cut software that allows me to cut directly to my vinyl cutter. And I cut the poly tool just like I did in that video a little bit earlier. And then I'm going to take this exact same file. I don't want to resize it. I don't want to change anything about the sizing. And I want to export it as a PLT file. And that's what's going to be required for me to create my sew file. And so I'm just going to put ZSK sew or ZTA sew here on the design so I know what it's supposed to go to. And then that file I can save anywhere on my computer as a PLT file. And so it's going to open it here in CorelDRAW. You can also create your design in that as well. So once I have that saved down to my computer, the next thing I want to open is going to be the Twill Stitch Pro Plus software. And so this software you can access on Stahls.com to get a free tutorial. Once I launch this, I'm going to go ahead and click Create a New Design. It's going to create a new page for me, and this is where I'm going to create that applique sew file. This specifically is an applique sew file creator, so it's not a complete digitizing software like Willcom or something like that where you can fully digitize, but it's optimal for quickly creating applique designs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my file, and I'm going to import my artwork. This is where I'll just grab a CTA file that I had created. Remember, I don't want to resize this at all if I need it to be that large 11-inch design. I can always zoom out if I need to be able to see it a little bit better. Let's get about 75% there, perfect. So I'm just going to slide this over so you can see it a little bit more. And then I want to take this vector file, so it's imported in that vector file. It's exact same size and graphic that I had used in the other design software when I had sent it to cut. So I want to go ahead and open this up here. I always like to go ahead and right click on my first design. You're noticing how there's multiple pieces of artwork, so it's reading the centers and some of the pieces separately. I always like to right click those and combine them together. That way it's reading it as only one piece of artwork before I create my applique file. After that, I'm going to do the same right click using the mouse on that same color 9 that's going to select my whole artwork image. And I want to convert it to my stitch file. So I can see a run stitch, I can see a tackle twill stitch, I can see an applique stitch. It's going to give me a really strong satin stitch. And so I can go ahead and add that. I'm going to do the applique satin stitch rather than a zigzag or a bean stitch. And so the terminology on these, the tackle twill is going to give you the zigzag, the run stitch is going to give you a bean stitch, and then the applique gives you your satin. And so I can also adjust that there. Here on the right hand side, you're noticing these are all the variables that I can edit on my sew file to get this looking the way I want it to look. And so I may like the applique width at the 3.5 millimeters, but I would like to maybe increase my density a little bit to pull those lines closer together. So I can also adjust the applique density there. And so you're noticing how it's tightening them up a little bit. If I want a little less show through, I could tighten them up a little bit more until I find something that I think looks great for what I want it to do. Also noticing it defaults a placement line and a tack down line, so that's going to give me the placement stitch that's required for me to send this job to my machine. Once I have my artwork created and looking the way I want it to with my placement stitch and my final stitch, I can file and export it and save it as a file that works for my specific machine. And so you're noticing here a variety of machines that are available. I'm going to go ahead and save it as a ZST file down to my computer. I can save it to a flash drive and then take it over to my embroidery machine and ready to sew it out. And so we'll take a look at how this kind of design sews out once we take the sew file over to our embroidery machine. Loaded my garment onto my embroidery machine. I've run my tack down stitch, which is going to just basically make a outline for me to line up my graphic. And then I'll position down, and this is going to allow me to sew out the applique using the stitch file that I created. So I can create this as a zigzag in that software. I can create it as an applique stitch. I can create it as a bean stitch, anything that I'm really looking for. And so that's going to sew around the perimeter of the transfer. And the last thing after that sews really for me to do is just to take it over to the embroidery machine or over to the heat press, finish it off and really get a nice finish. And so being able to, a lot of decorators really think it's difficult to cut and create sew files, but it's in fact really, really easy using CADWorks Live and Twill Stitch Pro. So like I mentioned, we'll put a video on stahlstv.com since my computer seems to have frozen a little bit here, where we can really show you guys how to do that. It's incredibly profitable. It gives you the ability to now add custom applique to your business and help cut your stitch cost in that way. And so we're looking at multiple ways to cut our cost. The applique is going to help make a more lightweight item. If you have a large graphic, it's going to help to cut your stitch count and your cost significantly by offering applique if you're not currently doing it in-house. And then we look at how the vinyl cutter will allow you to expand even more into offering different finishes, different effects. And so I talked a little bit about pricing structure, so I want to talk a little bit more about some of the pricing. And so when you look at monogramming, it allows you to be able to produce more effectively. It allows you to be able to print graphics more effectively and really cut your cost a little bit there. So we're looking more of $1 for cutting a graphic that's a monogram versus $4 of embroidering it. So we're talking about a 4x4 logo. It's a fourth of the cost to be able to offer that solution. And that's probably one of the main reasons that we're seeing so many embroidery businesses now offering heat transfer vinyl for monogramming and for personalization. We can expand to start personalizing things like lunch boxes, to things like shoes. I mean, you can really go crazy outside the box with what you can do. Basically, if it's fabric based and you can get it under your heat press with a flat application, you can pretty much find something that's going to stick to it. And so it really starts to expand what you can offer to your customers. And then Carmen, the name of that program for Stahls is just called Twill Stitch Pro Plus. If you go to Stahls.com's website, you can actually see the program and download a trial version that'll allow you to kind of play around with it a little bit. We do have videos on stahlstv.com using the program as well, so you're able to kind of see that in a little more hands-on method there. So that's some of the things there with adding a vinyl cutter, some of the big benefits. Just a couple other things that I haven't covered yet as far as marketing and selling your services. I mentioned calling it personalization rather than calling it heat transfer vinyl or heat transfer, just simply because it tends to add a little bit, takes the technical knowledge out of it and really just starts to talk about the benefits of adding personalization. If you're using special effects, maybe it's a glitter print or a foil print instead of embroidery. And so it really takes out that heat transfer technology, which really is just kind of a technical know-how that really you need to know how and your employees need to know how to do, but to your customer, they really only care about the finish and what benefit you're providing to them anyway. So that's kind of how I position that there. The other point that I want to hone in on a little bit is just including this new service in your conversation with customers, include it in your pricing structure. Like I mentioned before, make sure you offer this as a budget option. Make sure you offer this as a solution to customers that are coming just simply looking for ways to have their logo printed, and really just thinking about how you can position this alongside your embroidery. Another idea is to show off the new finishes on your website, your social media, in your showroom, and sell samples. Show your customers what you can do. The vinyl cutter will allow you to expand to so many finishes and so many effects. It's way beyond what we've even shown you here in this class. Even behind me, you're seeing some of these different metallic and flocks mixed together. You're seeing this two-tone effect that's created kind of that really unique metallic effect on that performance wear shirt. There's so many opportunities to print with this finishes. I literally just touched the surface in this class, and so I always recommend Stahls TV for more ways to see how you can expand with your vinyl cutter with different finishes, different effects, but you really can go crazy. And so show those designs off to your customers and let them know that you have this new service available in your store. And really discover your niche, discover your target market. Who are you going to go after with this embroidery business? Or with this, adding it to your embroidery business? Is it a current customer base that maybe is coming in asking for certain types of logos or certain types of jobs that you just aren't able to do currently? So maybe this is going to be an offering for them. Or are you going to go out and look for all new customers? Maybe you're going to target a new spirit wear customer. You're going to target schools differently than you've done in the past. Think about how you're going to position it as part of your product offering, and that'll help to make you successful once you implement this in your business. As always, at Stahls TV, we're here to help. We've got our Facebook group called Heat Press for Profit. You're welcome to join that. There's a ton of embroiderers and heat printers on there, as well as myself and other educators that help you out there. And we always have videos available on stahlstv.com to help you grow your business a little more. I don't see any more questions coming in on Facebook. Looks like I'm not getting them on GoTo as well. So I appreciate you guys coming in, joining me for what is your lunch hour or potentially your late morning coffee, depending on where you're at here in the U.S. But I will see you guys next time. Thanks for coming.